Good evening and a warm welcome to all our guests present here on behalf of Forum for Nationalist Thinkers, Hyderabad chapter. I now request Dr. S. Jaishankar ji, Union Minister, to take seat, please. And Ramchandra Rao garu, Dr. K. Lakshman, Jayaprakash Narayan garu. I invite Lakshmi Parmala to present bouquet and a book authored by Dr. Arvind Rao garu to our today's guest, Jaishankar ji. I now invite Akhila and Mohan to present book and bouquet to Jayaprakash Narayan garu.
Now I request Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan garu to kindly address us.
Friends, I deem it a great honor to be sharing the platform with Dr. Jaishankar, our esteemed Minister of External Affairs and one of the finest public servants that this country has seen. My dear friend and roommate in the assembly, Shri Kishan Reddy garu, Dr. Lakshman, and Shri Ramchandra garu, and all of you. As Kishan Reddy garu said, this is the occasion for us to listen from a master diplomat. So it's not for us to speak much. I'll be brief, I'll make only 3 points. I remember meeting with Dr. Jaishankar for the first time in Delhi in a conference where on 2 different occasions, in one panel he was speaking, another panel I was addressing. By the time he demitted office as Foreign Secretary, it was just a few months after Doklam. And from a distance, without knowing what was happening on a day-to-day basis, we all could discern the role of the Foreign Secretary in safeguarding India's interests in a very complex situation. As they say, you can choose your friends, but you cannot choose your neighbors. We have a strong and powerful neighbor, full of ambition, energy, and sometimes adventurism, very united, with 5,000 years of history and civilization just like ours, and therefore standing up in defense of our interests without allowing the tension to degenerate into conflict. It was a remarkable triumph. And one could also sense the respect in which the Chinese authorities held the Foreign Secretary at that time. You could see between the lines. And then 2022. It was a remarkable performance. Of course, what Russia did was unconscionable. As foreign minister, he cannot say that. But we can say that as free citizens. But we cannot take a moralistic stand and deny ourselves and the rest of the world the opportunity to buy oil, a vital commodity today. And if you deny ourselves the purchase of oil, if you take Venezuela, if you take Iran, and then Russia, the 3 countries together, if you take the peak oil production individually at a point of time in their countries, the total is about 20 million barrels a day. Now, if the world is denied 20 million barrels a day, it's absurd. Oil price would have been $200 a barrel. So Dr. Jaishankar, along with Chinese counterparts, in this case we were together, he actually saved the world economy. Many people may not realize it. Not only did we save a few $billion by allowing the Russian production being available to the whole world's economy, we actually saved the world. The Western world, I think eventually they understood, but like any society under duress, they were emotional initially, they didn't think through the consequences. We salute you for your accomplishment, for your defense of India's interests. Long years ago, when I was a college kid, I remember reading a novel. I don't know if Dr. Jaishankar, you read it. Alan Drury's book, Advice and Consent. The height of the Cold War. It is a masterly book. There was a character of an Indian diplomat in that book, Krishna Khalil, a caricature of diplomacy in those days. A lot of sermonizing without any substance. An incapacity to defend national interest or act in a pragmatic manner in pursuit of our own goals, and generally becoming a bit of a nuisance to the rest of the world. I'm sure it was a caricature. But that was the image of Indian diplomacy in the world. Thanks to you and a series of exceptional diplomats and leaders in this country, we now have become a very sensible country with a robust foreign policy, a country that can defend its interests without undermining global values, a country that can be trusted by the rest of the world and yet be respected for its defense of its own interests. Now, Dr. Jaishankar and his colleagues and the political leadership is doing a lot and can do a lot to enhance our image globally and to protect our interests. But at the end of the day, it is our internal strength that makes our national power. No matter how wonderful our diplomats are, or even how strong our military is, that doesn't make a nation great. We're in the 21st century. At the end of the day, it's the strength of the economy, our productive sectors of the economy. It is the stability in our politics. It's the cohesion in our society. It is the sense of purpose that the whole country is endowed with. That shapes a nation's destiny. That shapes the global perception of our power. Let's not mistake that. Now, in that context, time and again, Indians have proved, and I think Dr. Jaishankar has been foremost in articulating this point of view, when much of the rest of the world, out of misconception or deliberate misleading canards, is spreading a rumor that Indian democracy is in difficulties. He has been saying, and we must let it be known widely, our democracy is real and robust. Of course it is flawed. Which country is not flawed? We are dealing with a country called the United States, where a candidate who lost robustly in the last election, 2020, is claiming that he won, and a significant section of that country believes that he won. So how can you say that a democracy can be flawless? Of course, a democracy is by nature flawed. It's a very difficult system, but we're a real and robust democracy. Make no mistake about that. If those in India, some people spread this idea, or those in the world that a democracy is in trouble, they ought to have their heads examined. Now, we have a fundamental battle today. It's not merely about who wins this election. There is a fundamental battle of ideas. It's a defining election for this reason. And I suspect for the next 10-15 years, until India reaches a level of prosperity and enough people come out of the mire of poverty, we have these dangers. Are we going to pursue economic growth, infrastructure, skill promotion, investment promotion, job creation, and therefore eradication of poverty on a permanent footing? Or are we going to redistribute on a daily basis and spread poverty all around without any growth? I honestly never thought that this would be a challenge after 1991. But the consensus that was available for 20-25 years now has broken down. We must prove that India is for the future. It's for growth. It's for eradication of poverty. It's for giving opportunity to every single child irrespective of the circumstances of birth. It's for skill promotion. It's for wealth creation. Yes, welfare is necessary. Those in difficulties, those falling into the cracks, we need to help ourselves. And we are doing it, we will do it more as a society and as the state. But welfare alone does not constitute all governance. It's a tragedy. It's a disaster if you think welfare is governance. There has to be a growth perception. There has to be an opportunity for every single child. There has to be a desire to eliminate avoidable suffering for every single person and family. I think that is the goal that we should pursue. One last word I cannot resist because Dr. Jaishankar is here. You know it fully well, I just want to state it for the record. When I hear even prominent channels, respected channels, whom I as a child revered, BBC for instance, or others, Hindu nationalist party, or India is becoming religious fundamentalist and all that. I want a message to go, I'm sure it's going from you, but much more loudly and aggressively. If religion is taking us backwards, if it is obscurantist, if religion is saying women should be subjugated, they should have no reproductive rights, property rights, or marriage rights, they are subordinate, then we should oppose that religiosity. But today, whatever tradition is injected into the political discourse, it is to modernize our society and give women rights in every full measure. If religion is perpetuating caste system and inequality by birth, and saying some people are superior by birth, which was unfortunately a part of our tradition, then we should reject that. But if religion is saying the subalterns must rise, birth must not limit your future, everybody must have an opportunity in wealth creation, in skill promotion, in political leadership, in social participation, then religious discourse of that kind in politics is actually modernizing our society, modernizing our economy. I am an agnostic. I do not know if there is a God. I have a bit like India's form of foreign policy of mutual non-interference. Of course, it still is a policy, but the non-alignment, non-interference. Now, I think in dealing with God, as long as God doesn't bother about me, I don't bother about God, and there will be mutual non-interference. But if religion is modernizing society, giving women rights of equality, elevating every single human being in this society irrespective of birth, that religion I happily embrace. The West must know if indeed there is something called religion, because ours is not really religion, it's a way of life. If Charvaka is a part of Hindu pantheon of saints, Charvaka, who was avowedly a godless man, if every single thought in the world has been embraced, if Satyam Ekat and Vipra Bahuda Vadanti is our catchphrase, this is not really religion. But even if you think it's a religion, if that religion is modernizing our society, I don't see what is the problem. I think the West has missed that point. The Western media has missed that point. You're articulating it, but please say it as loudly as you can. Thank you once again, and thank you for sparing your time, for being here. And on behalf of citizens of Hyderabad and the state, we welcome you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful message to the audience here.